Hello and welcome to Season 2 of Frozen Cups and Hot Chips. I'm your host, Terrell Dupree. We're so glad to have you back joining us for an exciting season of great content and, more importantly, options and ideas that can help us all in the future. COVID seems to be loosening its grip on outdoor activities, and Frozen Cups and Hot Chips cameras have had access to some of the sporting events in our area. And of course, we're going to cover something that's near and dear to my heart. My former high school, it's my high school, but I formerly went there, Deep Creek High School. And Frozen Cups and Hot Chips cameras had a chance to catch up with head coach, Coach Twine, who is allowing our cameras exclusive access to the Deep Creek program, which is off to a blazing start, I might add. And of course, we're going to have some opportunities to cover them throughout their season, in addition to other collegiate sports that are opening up because COVID has seemingly, as we spoke about earlier, allowed for some of these activities to start to flourish, and we're going to be a part of it. I had a chance, as you see me rocking my Norfolk State University shirt, a proud alum, class of '99, mass communications. And I want to shout out one of my previous guests, Mr. Davey Smith, and Relentless for my Just Us Spartan shirts. You know, I got to always show love, but big up to Norfolk State playing in a big game in the Battle of the Bay, but we'll get into all of that. But speaking of Norfolk State, one of our prestigious alum, April Holmes, with one of those magnificent stories that we're going to touch on. So just a lot of dynamic guests, the best and brightest, as I always like to say, and we're just happy to have you along for the ride. So again, I'm Terrell. This is Frozen Cups and Hot Chips. Let's go. We're here at the house that Coach Twine is still continuing to build. Of course, we know the lineage of Deep Creek High School in the football. We're here at Deep Creek Football Stadium, where legends play. And of course, Coach Twine and his new lineage is taking over. Coach, talk to me about the program here.
Yes.
And the future plans that you have for it.
Well, we're next year will be a 4A team because of our population. And at one time, back in the early time, Deep Creek had over 2,000 kids. So we don't probably have about 1,400 right now. So we're a 4A school next year. We feel like with the team we got coming back next year, we can be a solid contender in 4A. We got some tough teams with Churchland, Kings, Forks, other teams that are coming up there. But where we're at as a program, we're continuing to pretty much go in that upper echelon in the area. So the only way to get to that point is to do hard work and discipline.
We've had some great successes. I hear hashtag New Creek from the newer generation of the Deep Creek fans. But it's been a good little while. I want to say almost 20 years since Deep Creek has been in any regional or state prominence. So it does feel good. It's kind of like when the Lakers win or the Cowboys. Oh, yeah. Shameless plug there. But, when Deep Creek is winning, that old Southeastern District clash of Titans.
Yes.
When Deep Creek is back in the paper and winning, it's a good thing. What have you heard from some of the students, from some of the parents, and just that overall Deep Creek family?
And, we came with the hashtag New Creek my first year,
Okay.
and it wasn't, and kind of like it was almost like New Creek. Well, we hired something new. Well, I'm a history teacher, teach government, and one thing I understand: the kids don't understand the lineage of the past of Deep Creek before.
That's right.
So when we said New Creek, we're bringing it in the era that the kids say, oh, Deep Creek's a contender, but we're bringing back that nostalgia from the past.
Yes.
Nothing, no disrespect to the whole past, but a lot of times kids just don't know. They only see what's in front of them. Like, well, back in it, well, we're not as good.
Right.
But knowing that there's a lineage and a proud heritage of the football program at Deep Creek High School, so
yes.
when we said New Creek, we was like, we're trying to bring back that era, that aura that Deep Creek had in those earlier times.
Coach, you touched on something that's so important. We had a Chips Talk segment in our previous season, and we talked to a number of coaches from the area.
Yes.
And a lot of coaches mentioned that. Now, you're a fairly young coach, in your 30s, I believe.
Yes.
But when you talked about the youngsters now, this new generation, you are right. It is hard to tell them about anything that didn't happen in their frame of reference.
Of course.
You know, what have you been able to instill, being that you're fairly young, you know, in the locker room, but you also, as a historian, you can bridge the gap. How do you bring them to speed on your new way of doing things, but also not forgetting where we came from?
I think that more so, I think my pops, who has been a long time coach, he's still coaching with me right now.
Okay.
I've been on the sideline all my life. I've been around the game all my life when I was a little kid. So I understand how football has developed over time, the era, different ways of being methods and those things like that. But one thing I have to understand is that you have to find that gap to relate to the kids and how they react to certain things. Because how we play the game is entirely different how the kids play the game now.
Right.
How they see the game, we saw it different. I mean, look at technology.
Yes.
Look at huddle. I mean, you ask yourself, we had huddle back in time, oh my gosh.
Yes.
But now the kids, like, they think it's because they already have it, they take advantage of it. See, we had it, we was like, wow, we would have had this, man. But understand, telling the kids, like, at the end of the day, learning about the past. Okay, this is where this part came from, this is where we want to lead to. At the end of the day, my main thing is that, can I instill this to the kids, like, this is what you have to do, and you're going to remember this the rest of your life. Because when you think about it in the day, when you're pretty much, those 4 years are up,
it's over.
It's over.
Yes.
And everybody's career has an expiration date.
Coach, you talked about the experience, and I heard you mention your father.
Yes.
And the overall knowledge of football. But talk to me about life lessons, because here on Frozen Cups and Hot Chips, hey, we talk about the championships, and we can talk about the balls bouncing and catching the passes, but we talk about life lessons here more than anything. I hear you making an indelible impact on your students, and that had to come from somewhere. Talk to me about how Pops gave you that knowledge in life.
You know, it takes a village to raise a child, as they say. I mean, now my pops, my grandparents, they instilled in me hard work and dedication. From my own personal perspective, I was all Southern District, but I was too small.
Okay.
Had 3.7 grade point average, so I had to walk on at Behold. And
wow.
I walked on my freshman year, played 6 games, then going to my sophomore year, Coach Adrian comes in, still didn't earn a scholarship yet, but my grades carried me. So my pops was like, hey, what's wrong? I'm starting, no scholarship, consider walk-on player. And at the end of the day, he said, keep working, it's gonna come through. And so when that scholarship came my following year, I almost broke down and cried because of the fact that you put so much work into something. So I tell kids, everybody's path is different. You may not get that scholarship at that point. Maybe it's something preparing you for that next level.
Yes.
So in regards to instilling me, it's all about hard work and dedication. I think the history department at Norfolk State, Dr. Newbie Alexander.
What's up, Spartan?
She was she was a tough professor, stayed hard on me. But I had one of the highest GPAs in the department there. All right, but it was a lot of things that I pride myself in hard work. And I still do that to this day. I'm in the classroom with the kids, doing my coaching, football, or track. I just want to dedicate myself, put my best foot forward, and that's all I want to do.
What is the impact that you want to leave? Let's take football out of it.
Okay.
Your students are going through the program, and I'm a parent that is having my, upcoming freshman or to transfer from another location.
Yes.
And I saw in the papers or watched in the news that this Deep Creek team with this young, influential coach who has a background that's familiar with the area. What is it that I can entrust in you that I know my child is going to be able to benefit from?
This was instilled in me also. At the end of the day, I want your child to be a better young man when he leaves my program. You know, I feel like sometimes, you know, sometimes you work about the W's and L's, of course, that come with the territory of being a coach. But I said, if your child is a better person leaving my program, I did my job. Okay. In regards to how they conduct themselves outside the building, in the classroom, that's the biggest thing for me. And at the end of the day, those small things will carry over to the field. I tell my kids all day long. I tell my kids, I say, if you're slacking in the classroom, it's going to show up here. Yes.
You are not only a coach, but you are in your position to observe things that aren't in your job description. So when you spoke about passing on those lessons, take football aside.
Yes.
Police brutality, safety out here as a man of color, young man of color.
Yes.
What are you doing that's not on the football field that you're instilling in those guys?
Man, it's a tough situation in regards to what you tell about and talk about and kids, like how you rate this. So I go back to my father. My father, he was one of the first blacks at Smith High School.
Talk about it.
And some things he learned and some things that was told to him and things that was said to him on a daily basis every day, we already know, we can understand what was said to him. You know, but he kept on keeping that focus. Like, it was hard. But his parents like, look, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. It's going to get better. So he had to understand, like, hey, every day will get better. Right. It's going to be something that my talent or something that I have is going to be a beacon for somebody else to see. Right. And so he used athletics to get him going, and it be pretty much, he's in the Smith Hall of Fame now, has a gym after him, and I mean, he's a well-known person in South Norfolk. So I think a lot of times just being yourself. All right. Now we understand that there are certain people that's gonna see things in a different way. True. That's just how that's what they're entitled to. Right. It may be right, it may be wrong, but understand we know what's going on this day and age. I worry about my kids. I mean, once I tell my kids, be safe out here, be safe, and that's like the scariest thing to say because you treat your players like your players like your kids. I coach girls too. I'm like,
you are a track coach. That's right.
Oh yeah. So it's like at the end of the day, it's like just be safe out here. But you know, it's a different day and age now.
Yes.
But I say a different day and age because it's so out front, but it's always been there.
That's right. And it's all about how you order your steps.
Yes.
You know what? We're gonna go to break. We're here with this beautiful Bermuda rye, I believe is what it is.
That's what it is.
Deep Creek with some Bermuda rye. We're here, in the Deep Creek Football Stadium. History, as the Frozen Cups and Hot Chips, as much as I represent Deep Creek and Camelot, I don't know how to act out here. But really quick, Coach, before we talk about some of the future plans for the stadium and what we can expect, right there in that lane that you were in, I want you to tell me one time where Coach Twine, had to put the whistle down and talk to me about a situation where you had to be more than a coach.
Oh, man.
I know, Rail always asks that real, even with Coach. We're going to ask the real questions here.
I mean, once you get a vibe about your team, you get when kids dealing with things, kids. Yeah, I have coached kids who lights were out, water out. Coach, I can't wash my stuff and my water gone. Wow. I mean, this has been coaching years. I've been times where death in the family, is down, kids depressed.
No X and O's in this you're talking about
This ain't X and O's. It's all about life here.
Coach.
So a lot of times, that's why I was saying when that downtime we had, I was like, it was scaring me because I know it can go left.
Influences.
It can go right.
Yes, sir.
So it's just, man, with situations where I've done with kids where it's just like, are you dealing with this right now? I mean, I had kids get in trouble. I had kids, a lot of stuff.
Sure.
So, but at the end of the day, it's just like, what can I instill in them? What's been taught to me to help them out? And I don't want to go into too much detail about
not
it.
At all.
But in essence, they're kids.
Right.
They may look a certain way. They built a certain way.
May garner the nostalgia and popularity of national attention.
But in
You're
here,
right.
But in here,
that's right.
It's that myelination process. That brain's still pruning.
Okay.
That frontal lobe ain't developed yet. They're going to make this like, what the heck you going? But it's us to instill small things through that.
Because some mistakes are irreversible and sometimes we can help mitigate it.
Right.
That's Coach Andre Twine, thoroughly immersed. Deep Creek High School football coach Andre Twine. We're going to talk about some of the future endeavors here in his program. He's just getting started, and so are we. I'm Terrell. That's Coach Twine. We'll be right back right here on Frozen Cups and Hot Chips. So, of course, we're excited about season 2. It's been a while, but everything is in due time, and we've got a lot lined up. We're going to certainly dive into, our mental health as a community, as a nation. We want to deal with some mindfulness techniques. We want to speak with our healthcare professionals. We only deal with the experts, not a folks that think they know it all. We're going to talk to the ones that are trained in their profession. And of course, we're going to have fun with some of the caterers and the restaurant owners and the entertainment and the political realm. We're going to touch on all of it. And we're going to do it in the fashion that we know we're going to hit hard and ask the right questions. Rail always asks that real. But you know what? We spoke about Coach Twine. We're here at Nat T. Hardy Stadium. Oh man, the Friday nights and going to the games back in the day. I don't want to get into that. But Coach Twine talked about some of the future endeavors that he's got for this program, some of the amenities and upgrades. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Frozen Cups and Hot Chips podcast. I'm your host, Terrell Ducree. We're so gracious to be joined by head coach Andre Twine of Deep Creek football. And of course, we're standing here, speaking of Deep Creek, in front of the Hornet Wall of Fame. And Coach Twine, we're standing here where a lot of players came through this tunnel, as well as just the history. But this stadium has some age, has some character. But in order for a program to grow, you've got to get the aesthetics right. What are some of the future plans for this home?
You see Nathan T. Hardy Stadium, and they have Nat Hardy, who's the principal for a long time here. A lot of people who are dedicated here for the stadium and put on the wall where they got the bricks here. But what we want to do is honestly want to get the stadium painted. I think that'd be one thing that we can get that going, because we intend to be a team that will host playoff games, and we want to give something about a good feel where, number one, you come here, you want to have the people feel welcome back. And sometimes that first impression is big. So you want to get something that's looking real nice out there. We want to see if we can get things painted. That's the one thing.
Okay.
Also, I tell you this, I know for a long time, at our practice at the stadium, we don't have any practice lights. So we trying to get practice lights too. That's one thing we're working on to get that done. But as a whole, man, we just want the support. You show your support. And I know sometimes, at the end of the day, everybody follows the winner. And I say this, you got people who are there for you thick and thin. You got people there because it's high. And you got people, that's just what it is.
Okay.
Let's be honest.
All right.
So that we're at that point where we want to take that next step. We want everybody to be there. That's what we want.
You're right, Coach, and didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to touch on that. The support is key. And sometimes the support can't just come from the municipality. A lot of times the programs are, community-based. And even though this is Deep Creek High School, we have a lot of fans. We have a lot of folk that support. And Coach, sometimes it's just about putting it out there. I guarantee if it's lights that you need, or if it's something with uniforms or different things that go on, sometimes you just got to speak it into existence. And I can guarantee you from the viewership, we're going to try to support as best we can. And I also wanted to touch on some of the amenities, because I know we want to try to paint this house and get it spruced up.
Yes.
But right now, I'm loving the way that grass is looking. Talk to me about that Bermuda ride.
So this last school year, the school board passed for the renovation of our school. We had a brand new Bermuda grass from the field, brand new goal purse, and then we had a field house where we had a locker room for our kids, and we can have like 6-7 whiteboards in there. Just everything is good. That's something that I felt like that was a long time coming. You look at it from the heritage of Deep Creek and all the promos that came out, these undefeated teams you play against. I think something that is built in here was built from what was done in the past and got to that point.
That's right.
And but we're grateful for it. We're fortunate about it. The kids like it. One thing about it, the one thing I love to see is the pride in the kids' faces when they like, man, this is ours.
Well, you're right. It's the home of Purple Thunder. It's the home of Friday night football games, the old Southeastern District, of course, perennial games. We're talking about old Wilson High School, now Manor. And, of course, throwing some names out, the D'Angelo Halls and the Cedric Irvins, the Sean Menzies, the Arnie Powells, Deion Dyers. The names and listings go on. And I'm sorry if I forgot some of you great players that play. I know you all. Please charge it to my heart, not my mind. But, Coach, to players that are coming here to Deep Creek, you mentioned Fieldhouse. there's a semblance of pride as a player now, knowing that you have a locker room. You mentioned to us where playing in the playoffs, sometimes the amenities that the visiting team has to go in is not necessarily ideal for your players to have their own home, the technology of the whiteboards. How important is that?
Well, number one, you don't take it for granted. You appreciate everything that's given to you. You look at it, well, okay, where can you build from after that? At the end of the day, a lot of times you don't take it for, you take things for granted. They should, well, we should have this. Of course you should have, but sometimes you have to be mentally prepared to have the stuff you have. So when you have it, you can't make it an excuse. Okay, so at the end of the day, we're just thankful for what's been done, but we want to continue to build. That's the whole thing. Because a lot of times, believe it or not, 20 years from now, this team can go down like, hey, remember these teams in this past here.
That's right.
What's your legacy going to be? That's what you ask yourself.
It's barbershop talk.
When you leave this program, where is your legacy? And from a team perspective, I mean, you look at the essence of Deep Creek, we have not won a state championship yet. Out of all teams that's been here, we have not won one yet. I said, be that team that win a state championship, see what happens.
See what happens. Coach is touching on it. Now, and you know what? In that same lane, a lot of times, the leash is short, Coach. I mean, you've been to a regional, you've got some buzz, and we're talking state title to a program that is starving for it with a lot of lineage. You know, how have you been able to, one, make sure that those powers that be know, we've got to invest in this guy. We see what he's doing, and we've got to let that cake bake some more.
I mean, well, you know, AD, principal, they support us and everything we're doing in regards to the program, how we run and how we get the kids going. I think the main thing, it starts with me.
Talk about it, Coach.
The head has to be on point.
Okay.
I got to be the person where you take the bitter with the sweet, good with the bad. Things are going to happen, how you going to react from it. Things are going to, situations come about, how you going to handle it. You made things where you have a player disgruntled, or a parent disgruntled, oh gracious parent. Man, sometimes it can be something within your staff here to take care. I mean, it's a lot of stuff you got to do as a coach.
That's right.
And people don't realize this. As a head coach, I don't care any sport.
Talk about it.
90% has nothing to do with your sport.
Did y'all catch that?
90% of what you do as a head coach has nothing to do with X's and O's. That's why it is of an essence for a coach to have that support from his assistant coaches, because things sometimes can go haywire. You got to be on point with things. I can give you grade checks, college coaches, let's say inventory, washing clothes, lining the field, stuff that people don't realize that we do as coaches.
And you still ain't talked about outside of the field.
Oh, no.
You ain't even touched on that.
No.
Wow.
So it's just a lot. On top of that, I'm a full-time teacher. I teach government.
There it
is. People think, well, that's all you do. No, that's what I do. I coach.
Did I catch soccer too in that? Soccer as well?
No, I coach track.
You coach track? I'm sorry, track. I know it was another piece in there as well.
That's why it's good to have.
We were talking soccer off camera.
When you have great assistant coaches, that's what makes your job easier. And then I'm always been a proponent. If I give the coaches this is your responsibility, and I trust you,
right?
They're gonna work 10 times as hard because you instilled that trust. Like I can't let you down. So when you instill, that's what in essence why we've been great as a program.
You talked about the lead, and I want to hit right on that. You talked about your coaches, but when the spotlight was on you, you also made you shine and gave your coaches the props.
Got to.
Right when the camera was on one of the highest moments, which shows a lot of humility for you, Coach.
You got to. You got to. People want to feel appreciated. A simple thank you was like, I appreciate what you're doing. You'd be surprised how long that can go.
Yes.
You know, I talked to Mom, was like, just say thank you. You know how much that will mean to a person. You don't know. You don't know what they thought. They could be going through some things. You just don't know.
That's
they put the work in. You say, I appreciate you. Just keep on doing what we're doing. And you move forward. You know, again, who's not going to struggle? What days we not going to disagree with stuff? I mean, that's just,
right. That's human nature.
Maybe we're going to disagree.
That's it.
But can we come to a resolution? Can we come to an agreement what's best for the kids and what's best for the program? And when that happens, the dust settles and you move forward.
Coach, you have a tremendous grasp not only on just what goes on inside the hash lines, but what's going on both in the classroom and outside in the game of life. Some of the lessons from your father, other coaching tree. You've got a coaching tree out here, and some folk don't know, some may not know, but Coach Twine has had influence throughout here. Some of your favorite coaches are in position because of Coach Twine or some of the relationships. It seems like the program is in good hands. What's next for you, Coach?
What's next? Step up. Okay, we want to, again, of course, we want to start getting to a point where, hey, at the end of the day, it's beyond the winning. Well, how can we be as a program, be in the community? How can we influence that next generation of kids coming up? How can we stay in communication with the kids coming up from the middle schools and those things? How can we stay in communication with the rec kids? How can we make our presence known in the community? I mean, COVID has jacked up a lot of stuff this year. We had several this year. We had our linemen. They were going to reach to the kids at Decree Elementary this year or in Treacle. I mean, my main thing is, how can I reach out my influence to this next generation of kids? Okay. A lot of times it's like this, and then you can be in the street. I could be at Sam's Club. Oh, you come from Deep Creek.
That's right.
Man, I graduated in 1990. Keep on doing, and it's crazy.
Yes, I'm one of them.
Yep. And it's like, sometimes I only had no Deep Creek gear on, but they know, oh, you're Coach Twine.
That's right.
And so I don't take that for granted, because at the end of the day, that means you're being watched with a fine-tooth comb.
You got a bar, Coach.
So at the end of the day, I gotta set myself.
That's right.
I gotta make myself stand out, not to be arrogant and boastful, but to present myself in a way where I'm representing the program in a great way.
Coach, I know some of the players, some of these, all Tidewater players were out practicing a little earlier. I mean, he's got all of the perennial stars coming out, so I know your time is valuable. But on a Friday night, when the stands are blaring and everyone's here, and those parents are yelling and screaming, what is it that the parents could help out with the program or help Coach out and his staff with, if you could talk to them?
I understand, parents, you want the best for your kids, but I understand this. I learned this a long time ago. Parents are fans too.
That's deep.
You know, and it's going for every coach and coach. So let's trade shoes one day. I wish we could do a game where, okay, we're going to have changing roles. You go ahead and put the headset on. You practice for a whole week. Go out there and get your kids going for a game. I'm going to be sitting in the stands, come on Friday, and I'm going to sit in the stands and I'm going to yell, I'm going to fuss, you need to do this, do that. Not knowing the work you do on a week-to-week basis with the kids, because you're in there.
Right.
You know, it's tough. And that's going for and I can speak for every coach I know for a fact. If you understood, if parents understood, now it's not all parents, because most parents really appreciate what you do.
That's right.
But sometimes it gets to a point where, that's why I feel like you see a lot of coaches resign. They're saying, look, why I gotta deal with all this type of stuff when I'm really not getting paid that much.
Well, the coach talking now, yo.
This is pretty much, this doesn't pay all my bills, this doesn't pay my bills. It's being for real.
Okay.
And is it worth it? Now, most coaches say it is worth it because of the kids. But in regards to what comes with it, oh man, it's crazy.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, I wish parents would have a better understanding of what we do and how we put our best foot forward for the kids. I mean, I be like this sometimes. Like, what if I came to your job and told you what to do, and I don't have a clue like that?
But I know what I'm talking about, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just what it is. But understand, that's the profession we chose. We chose the coach, so we understand what comes with it.
Wow.
So
that's deep.
It gets bigger and bigger as the level you go up. But understand, football is one of the most popular sports in America.
Yes.
It's what it is.
You are the captain at the helm of a storied program in Southeastern Virginia. As a proud alum of Deep Creek High School, who's been watching all of the program for a number of years, and a complete fan and indebted, we want to tell you we appreciate you, we support you.
Thank you.
Yes, the community is watching. You're right. You cannot go to the grocery store or anywhere without us knowing, and you know what? It's from a place of love.
Yes.
And we know that the future is bright. Coach Andre Twine, Godspeed and continued success to you. And of course, we want to thank you all for joining us here on the second season of Frozen Cups and Hot Chips. We're not done with Coach Twine because we're going to be doubling down throughout the football season. We're going to cover the program and a number of other outstanding programs as well, but we are a tad bit biased. We're going to be highlighting the Hornets big time. He's Coach Andre Twine. I'm Terrell Dupree, and you've been watching Frozen Cups and Hot Chips.